I've sent well over 1 million cold emails at my agency and analyzed thousands of campaigns during my time at HubSpot, where I ranked in the top 1% of sellers. And I discovered the most important idea that truly separates failed outreach from outreach that generates revenue. You see, most sellers waste time on flashy gimmicks and clever lines that don't drive results. The key isn't just personalization or even relevance, to be honest. It goes much deeper. Fair warning though, guys, this isn't a tutorial. I'm not going to be showing you guys like specific like cold email templates, but rather it's going to be the biggest mindset shift that will completely transform how you see outbound forever. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So we first have to begin this video by first talking about what is personalization. And in my words, personalization is focusing and demonstrating specific knowledge about the individual prospect. So it's tied down to individual, not the business, right? Again, hence the name personalization. So, and again, it comes back to like, why now, right? So why this specific individual should care about this right now versus before. At its core, if you can nail personalization, that's what it's about. It's why now, why that person has to care about this right now. So the better you can do this, the more relatable you come across. The less you do this, the more it comes across as like a flashy gimmick where you're trying to grab someone's attention, right? And the best way to kind of like explain that is I'll explain some examples later in the video, but relevance is emphasizing and addressing current business needs, challenges, or opportunities, right? So this is like when you're talking about like what the business is faced with, some challenges it might be encountering, and it comes back to like a sort of a greater view. So like not just about the person, but it's more about like holistically, like what is the industry facing, what is the business facing, what types of challenges, and the better you can nail that, the more relevant you are, right? So jumping into things, so oftentimes what most sellers do is they send cold emails that are low personalization and low relevance. So what does this mean, right? So these are your generic cookie cutter templates that everyone is sending, and it's just coming across very spammy. People are marking you as spam. You have super low like reply rate, well under 1%. You're obviously damaging your brand, and you're coming across as spam, right? And you're ultimately like burning your domains and your inboxes, and it's really like a shotgun approach, right? There's nothing around it, right? So there's no substance, there's no material. And the best example I give you is like you're saying like, hey Steve, hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out because we've helped companies like yours drive revenue by 30%. Our platform does whatever, right? So not relatable to Steve. Steve doesn't care about it because it's not addressing his needs or his company's needs, right? So then we got high personalization, low relevance. So what does this mean, right? So this is like what BDRs or entry-level sales reps do whenever they first get in seat is they research someone's LinkedIn profile, they try to find information about them, for example, like what their job title is, what their company is they work for, and then maybe like what school they went to, where they graduated from, and then they personalize their email copy based on that, right? And what this ultimately does is definitely grab someone's attention because you're talking about them, and ultimately what people care about is themselves more than anything. So you're definitely grabbing someone's attention, but it's hard to relate that back to like your pitch, right? It almost doesn't even sound congruent, and you're coming across very like salesy, and you don't want to do that, right? And oftentimes people respond to these types of emails by saying, hey, thank you so much for saying whatever you had to say about my personalization or things I did in my past, but I don't really care, and I'm not interested, right? So that's the messaging. And what this looks like is like, as I said, it's like saying, hi, Sarah, noticed you're on LinkedIn that you're a fellow Michigan alum, and then followed by like a pitch. You guys can pause the video, take a look, but this is oftentimes just grabbing someone's attention, but it's not really doing anything. Then we got high relevance, low personalization. I think this is what most people do, and it's better than high personalization, low relevance, but you're definitely addressing someone's problems, right? There's definitely like business context to that. You're talking about like how your product could help their specific challenges, but it's definitely not top of mind for them, right? That person's not dealing with that problem in this exact moment. They could be, but you don't know for sure, right? And oftentimes, again, it comes back to like, the challenges that the business is facing as well as the industry. So something like this might sound like, hey, David, manufacturing businesses like Green Star Electronics are facing problems with inventory in today's market, especially with tariffs. Our inventory optimization platform has helped manufacturing companies reduce stockouts by 43%. Whatever, you guys get the point. It's super relatable because you're talking about tariffs. You're talking about like industry specific problems that this manufacturing company might be dealing with, but it's not super relatable to that person, right? So like David might not be facing this issue, right? Or it's not top of mind, or it's just something that that business might be putting off for in the near future. So it's not very timely, right? And you're almost kind of like looking at it very guesswork, right? You don't know for a fact if that's the case. Then we got sort of the sweet spot, right? And this is kind of what really drives home and gives you the best results possible is high personalization, high relevance, right? So this is like tailored outreach, right? So this is you're talking about specific needs that relates to the business, but it's also ties back to their current situation. So it's something that is top of mind for them that they're currently struggling with, not only the business, but it's top of mind for that person as well. So oftentimes the responses you could get from this is like, this is exactly what I've been talking about. This is exactly what I'm thinking about. And oftentimes people are really interested by this, right? So this is a sweet spot. And oftentimes when you're pitching your product or solution this way, you're definitely not coming across salesy. You're almost providing the most value you can in the current situation that the person is in, where they need you the most. So the best way I can kind of put this to you guys is you're speaking to someone exactly when they need you, right? So like imagine you could do this at scale. And a great example of this is like saying, for example, like, hi Jennifer, I noticed Andy's Burgers Google reviews dropped from 4.3 to 3.9 in the last month, with 7 recent reviews specifically mentioning long waits and reservation confusion. Having managed front house for 12 years, I recognize these specific patterns. They stem from reservation, system staffing misalignment. We've helped 3 other downturn restaurants facing identical issues implement a solution that reduced wait time complaints by 68% in 30 days. Would you be open to discussing this? Okay, so why does this work, guys? So think about it. Obviously, the reviews dropped, and Jennifer, let's just assume she's in marketing, she's the founder, or she's a restaurant owner, whatever, right? She probably noticed the reviews, right? So it's definitely detrimental to Jennifer's like image, and she cares about this. It recently came in, and you're coming along with a pitch that you're basically helping her in her current situation. This is really resonating, right? Because you're addressing her needs and it's very timely, but you're also like coming across with high social proof, right? So this is a very good example. And another great example is like saying like, hi Michael, I noticed Carson Electronics filed 17 new commercial permits last quarter, with 8 specifically for EV charging stations or retail locations. The timing is interesting. The new federal tariffs importing charging components just increased your cost by 22% according to industry data. And then you could say like we've helped with like sourcing solution. I'll follow it up with like a pitch, right? So this is very specific to this person again, and is relatable, and it's something that they might care about in this current situation because the tariffs are affecting something that he's selling, right? And the tariffs are recently rolled out, so he can personally relate to this issue, and it's top of mind for him. So you guys might be asking yourselves, how do we get this to scale? And I think the recent like boom of AI agents, MCPs are really like allowing agencies, sellers to get this data at scale. I have a ton of content on my website where I talk about, or on my YouTube channel as well, where I talk about sort of how like the framework behind this and how people could approach getting data at scale using AI. And the best way you can like use this is to find the right person at the right time, looking for your product or solution. And AI makes this super easy to do. And whereas before people had to kind of rely on, knowing their ICP, for example, if it's like, marketers or VPs of sales, they have that in the back of their mind and they just go pitch their solution. That works to some extent, but not always is it top of mind, your product or solution. It has to be also timely. It also has to relate back to why now, right? So hope you guys enjoyed this. And again, sort of the new equation that we can kind of think about outbound success. And I've seen great results from this, not only for myself, but also for my clients, is high personalization, high relevance, leads to perfect timing and quality conversations above all, beyond just booking an appointment. So hopefully you guys found this valuable. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be linking this in my newsletter if you guys want to take a look, as well as some other materials for you guys to check out. But thank you guys.